Man, this shit blows. I'm so fucking tired of the zone. There's nothing fun to do, all the mutants are stupid, the loot is shit, and nobody here smokes the epic reefer like I do. Should I just leave? If this is all there is, I think I've had my fill. If only there was a group of stalkers who were into cool shit like smoking the epic weed, doing cool shit, being relaxed dude pals and smoking more weed. Is there any group like that in this boring ass place? Is there?
После того, как разрешилась судьба голубого шара, в окрестностях Припяти прошла серия выбросов. Немногочисленные известные тропы в город, ныне перекрытые стеной аномалий. Но не все дороги ведут в Припять. На севере много тайн, и самые сильные группировки зоны готовы платить кровью и свинцом, чтобы раскрыть их. На новых территориях развернется старая война. Ты присоединился к Заре, группировке, которая борется за свободное изучение зоны. Ни военные, ни фанатики не должны стоять на пути научного прогресса. Под крылом Зари собрались талантливые ученые, вольные сталкеры, анархисты и борцы за свободу. Всех их объединяет одно. Они не хотят, чтобы кто-то из людей посмел провозгласить себя единоличным хозяином зоны. Чудеса зоны для всех. Может и не даром, но обиженным точно никто не уйдет.
Risers will make themselves at home in the Institute. Once the Institute of Experimental Agronomy, this place is a fitting installation for the new and reorganized Rice faction. Upon arrival, you'll be greeted by Mahorkian,
Салют, молодой!
a big dude dolled up in top-of-the-line combat gear and a pretty commanding voice, the main enforcer and right-hand man of Chechil, leader of the military branch of the Rice faction. This will work as your first introduction to not only Rice itself, but how different it is from how it used to be. Notice how I said the words military branch? That's because Rice has rebranded itself, whereas once it used to be a loose association of anarchists, drug addicts, adrenaline junkies, and all manner of misfits, they now have an actual, concrete goal. Scientists from all walks of life now flock to their ranks with the arrival of Dr. Borilov, a fairly important scientific mind with plenty of reputation to his name, but I'm getting ahead of myself. For now, you just need to worry about some menial messenger work. As you might imagine, this fairly recent reorganizing of the faction has its fair share of detractors from the Old Guard, where the Old Guard means the people who liked it better when they could just get high all day and take pot shots at mutants and Frontier.
Военное крыло, научное крыло. Распилили, блин, Зарю! А где кумар крыло, спрашивается?
That's what I'm saying.
One of the more remarkable detractors is a stalker by the name of Chiller, who's grabbed a bunch of supporters and gone off to a nearby outpost. Afraid that this might turn into a splinter group, you're tasked with heading out and bringing him to heel. Remind him who's boss and get him to work for the benefit of the clan once more. You're also recommended to talk to Screwball and Mohawk, the local artifact appraiser and gun dealer respectively, for details on what makes Chiller tick. Better keep your ears open, because if you fail this task, you'll be clearing out mutants all on your own.
Надеюсь, ты не копаешь против него? Ох, зря, чатки на балдежника так сильно давят. Не могут нормально сесть и поговорить.
Как бессонница в час ночной меняет нелюдимая облик твой. Ну, мужик, кто ж тебе скажет, как с другим человеком поладить? Ну, он, может, и делает вид, что он все время на балдеже, а на самом деле он и по сторонам глядит.
From what you can hear, Chiller is a pretty level-headed guy, as much as he is old-fashioned, for Rice standards, that is. It's not that he's disenfranchised with the faction, it's that he thinks the higher-ups have it out for him, and though his name is Chiller, it's not like he's dumb, so don't treat him like such. In a small building in the nearby dam, you'll find him and his flock, chilling out and undoubtedly getting high like a kite, the way Rice always intended it to be. Once you get there, remind him that this dogmatic update is, in the end, for the faction's benefit. While you're at it, why not offer to help with clearing half the mutants yourself? Chiller seems like the type to appreciate people talking to him rather than down on him.
Ровно говоришь, друг.
Coming back home to give Mahorkian good news regarding this issue, your next task will acquaint you with Rice's scientific branch. One of the Institute's own researchers, Professor Botwin, needs an assistant, so get on it.
Я...
weird? Meeting Professor Bodwin, you hear nothing but praises regarding the faction's new direction, giving scientists unbridled access to the north. Protected by an organized militia of stoners and political dissidents, they get to work with area restriction. This area used to be obscured and inaccessible up until the Stalcraft X update's massive map-changing emission, which means that this place is pretty much a treasure trove of artifacts, rare resources, and old documents, a scientist's dream. More concretely, they have advanced in great strides in the field of agrochemistry, the chemistry of plants for you at home. New fertilizers that allow them to grow unique specimens of hemp in the nearby greenhouses. This hemp, then chemically treated to isolate its active substances for further, more meticulous work. Interestingly, he mentions that Borilov, head of the scientific branch, was the one who approached Chatsky, Rice's leader, with the idea for an alliance. But it's whatever at this point. All you have to worry about is that you have to go get some scientific equipment left behind by a team somewhere nearby. So, get on it.
А? Это вы? Погодите, не подходите ко мне слишком близко.
Upon return, you're not exactly greeted with open arms. Bodwin seems pretty bothered to see you. Taking the equipment, he calls for Makhorkian to come take you away before something happens. And so, under threat of death, you're hauled away to see Chatsky, the man in charge.
1,5 часа назад на базу вернулся один из наших новобранцев.
The reason for this sudden suspicion is made clear right away. Along with you, another newbie was assigned a similar task of scientific importance. Like you, he also came back to cash in. Unlike you, however, he tried to assassinate Dr. Borilov. Wounded but alive, leadership is now worried that the influx of newbies means that what they're certain is a traitor, who will later be revealed to be named Burka, is only one of many. The idea of him being a blessed is discarded, as this hit seemed to be a planned out ordeal, rather than some sort of spur-of-the-moment, madness-induced feat of violence. Ever heard of ZIVCAS? Because you'll be hearing plenty of them from here on out. Assumes to be behind the attack. Once working with intermediaries and in steady contractual agreements with mercenaries, they seem to have changed their strategy for one of direct intervention. So much so, it seems that they have created their own special forces to operate in the area, the ZIVCAS Spetsnaz. The conversation ends and you're cleared from most suspicion. Still, that means there's still probably at least one other assassin working to kill Borilov. ZIVCAS or not, you're tasked to go out and check for any discrepancies on the nearby patrolling squads. They're all manned by rookies for the most part, and they've been out all day, and the assassination attempt isn't widely known just yet. So go ask around and see if you can find any interesting reactions. You'll be looking at 3 squads, one led by Chechil, real name Artem Chechilov, a recent divorcee who hates his nickname, so don't rub it in his face too much, since he's on a short fuse.
Радуйся, урод, что мне дали задание, и я не стану от него отвлекаться, чтобы набить твою тупую морду. Я сам ему доложусь, без помощи такого клоуна, как ты. Разговор окончен.
Apricot, an artistic and boisterous young man who's on his first year in the zone, described as a proud riser that's glad he managed to pass whatever test he was given. There's no real science to talk into him, since he'll let you in on all of his thoughts, a fact that his companions seem to dislike.
Как же меня заколебал трёпку роги.
And lastly, Warlock, an ex-military who left the service after some sort of disagreement with his higher-ups. This very experience meant that he got ahead really fast despite this being his first year in the zone. Described as a man whose coldness doesn't deter him from joking around, perhaps he's also joking when he tells you that he's seen plenty during his 3 years in the zone. It might sound like a small detail, but his dossier mentions that he was given a BSS Vintores, yet he's wielding an M4 style rifle right now. It might be worth mentioning to Makhorkian back at the base,
Что расскажешь?
who'll tell you to head back to Mr. Bodwin for some more work while he gets the matter sorted out, citing that Mr. Bodwin was quite pleased with your prior help.
Нет, еще раз нет.
Letting you in on a little on what the scientific branch of Rice has been up to, he tells you about their work in the field of brain elasticity, the type of shit that could help you recover from a stroke or fend off Alzheimer's. Truly novel shit. You'll be playing lab assistant right now. Given a piece of scientific equipment, you just have to distill plant matter into its active medical components so that then it can be synthesized into medicine. How hard could it be? Plenty. So much so I'm not even gonna explain it because I don't fucking get it. Once the task is done, you can go back to Makhorkian and tell him what a good job you've done. And while out playing chemist, he was keeping a close eye on the patrols you were asked to look at. Scrutinizing Warlock closer than the others turns out to be the best thing to do, as it's revealed that their squad was hijacked, which is to say say, they were killed in action, and a gang of ZIVCASers put on their gear with the intention of using this act of infiltration to attack Rice's outposts without much resistance. Of course, your detective work means that they'll end up dead themselves before such a plan can come to fruition, and you're given this dandy pin for being such a smart cookie. Of course, this doesn't mean the end of Rice's troubles, not by a long shot. It's all but confirmed by now that they're set by enemies not just on all sides, the presence of Covenant to the east and Mercenaries to the north, but there's also an enemy hoping to kill them from within. It's time to let the hammer drop and consolidate loyalties. Apricot has been sent to keep an eye on Chiller, whose state as a somewhat more traditionalist member of the faction means that the leadership is pretty much expecting betrayal from him. So pick up a gun and go check on Apricot.
All the single furries, all the single furries, all the single furries, all the single furries.
Эй, не смотри! Это же не для тебя! Куда лезешь?
You find Apricot in the midst of some less than reputable activities, spying on the Hydroelectric plant where Chiller and his gang are holed up in from afar. Things seem chill, but after sticking around a little, a barrage of gunshots are heard. Not wasting a moment to check it out, you break into the plant to find it overrun with the confirmed suspects, ZIVCAS operatives. Better equipped and in comparatively overwhelming numbers, it falls on you, Apricot, and this mysterious unnamed fella to clear the place. The only person confirmed to have survived by the end of it all is Chiller. How convenient.
Балдеж.
After a short conversation, he let you in on the fact that, right before killing them, he interrogated a ZIVCASer whose response boiled down to your faction is compromised, full of spies, and you're fucked. A strong statement to make. Apricot ensures you reinforcements will come to clean the place up and to help Chiller, so it'd be best for you to head back to Mahorkin and Chechil to give a report.
Вот же черти! И откуда повылезали? Ну мы им...
Ситуация становится все серьезней. У нас и без этого хватает проблем с наемниками на севере.
Seemingly stepping in on the tail end of a heated discussion about ZIVCAS, the news you bring aren't exactly unexpected, but they are still bad. There are spies in the base at this very moment, and leadership wants to get them alive, while avoiding a witch hunt of course. Not just faction cohesion, now the very image of Rice is at play here, and a witch hunt wouldn't do them any favors with the public. Having proved to work in the faction's best interest, you are given a list of names belonging to the more out-of-place members of the faction. Eccentric, weird, and not well established enough, these are your suspects. It falls on you to figure out who, if any, of these men are spies. So it's time to hit the floor once more, talk to them, talk to the veterans, talk to the merchants, shit, even talk to Chiller, but you need to come to a verdict. The suspects are Toyota.
О, здорово!
The worst type of content creator, a GoPro blogger. He's been going around making his intentions known. He wants to make videos about Rice, its history and current state. Who the fuck would do something that stupid? He's called an idiot by Mahorkian, but then again, his stupidity might be the perfect cover for a spy to walk around asking all kinds of questions without seeming threatening. Then there's Citrus.
Здорово.
All that Chechil can say about him is that he talks a lot, a curious dude who pokes his nose into everything and tries to be nice to everyone. This is clearly suspicious behavior. He's out for something, so figure out what it is and if it's anything to worry about. And lastly, Yogi.
Привет.
A newbie who acts as Citrus's complete opposite. He was already a shy newbie, but recently he's gotten even more withdrawn and quiet, maybe trying to lay low after a certain assassination attempt. These are the main people you should keep an eye on. Of course, if you spot anything or anyone suspicious while working, we can add them to your list, but all leads will start with the people mentioned, so get on it. Feeling overwhelmed yet? Relax, it's not that hard. I'll lay it out for you nice and simple like. Heading for a little chat with Chiller, you'll find him in the midst of a little spat with Chechil.
Балдеж, Чечил, все. Заткнись. Как же ты меня задрал. Вечно со своим балдежом. Если б тебя не ранили на ГЭС, я бы прямо сейчас тебя отмудохал.
Chiller seems to enjoy pushing the poor man's buttons, and though he doesn't think he's a spy, he will withhold information on some pretty hard evidence until you help him pull a little prank on Chechil. Sneaking a piece of rotten cheese into his backpack, you are caught in the process. Chiller doesn't mind, since he was hoping to make Chechil angry anyways.
Пошел вон отсюда, гнида. Подавись с этим сраным сыром, чтобы он у тебя в глотке застрял. Чтоб вы с балдежником этого сыра обожрались и подохли. Чтоб вы...
Satisfied with the results of your little prank, he'll let you in on a name you haven't heard, a stalker by the name of Locum, a friend of the deceased traitor, Burka. You should add him to your list of suspects. The next piece of interesting evidence comes from Viper, the cheery merchant.
Привет, привет.
He'll give you some pointers on who's suspicious, but first you need to go grab a stash from the traditionalists on the faction. How traditional, you ask? Well, it's stronger than weed, that's for sure. Bringing it back to Viper so he can sell it back to them for being chumps, he'll let you know that Locum was indeed pretty tight with Burka. Nothing you didn't know, but more evidence piling against him. Talk to Zaglova Defense next.
Здорово, мужик.
He'll immediately let you know that there's a guy named Pletniov, a scientist who works the greenhouses, who recently found some pretty important and dangerous chemicals went missing. So you might want to expand your investigation over there.
Что ты здесь делаешь, боец?
Pletniov seems to be very busy with his work, so much so that he still remembers how some dude came in a couple of days ago asking for some chemicals. First he tried sucking up, then he tried to buy them. Pletniov has too much integrity for that though, so he told the guy to fuck off. Interestingly, he knew right away that the chemicals this individual was asking for could easily be manufactured into something dangerous. Before you can continue your interview, however, Pletniov seems to get a little too insecure with his position.
Конечно, дело серьезное. Дело серьезное, потому что ты так сказал. Что, все серьезное вращается вокруг тебя? Только ты занят серьезными заботами, верно ведь? А заботы других людей — это шутка. Кто я для тебя? Просто садовник? Ухаживаю тут за какими-то стебельками да цветочками. И ты можешь отвлекать меня до тех пор, пока вся моя работа прахом не пойдет, так что ли?
So, eager to not be an errand boy, he makes you his errand boy. Tend to his plants or you can forget about the info he has on the spy. A combination of chemicals, cold and warm water, each greenhouse requiring one of two or these in different orders. I'll make it easy for you. Press the 1 key on each plant in the first greenhouse, then press 2 twice on each plant in the second greenhouse, then 3, then 1 in that order for each plant in the third greenhouse. Just like that, you're now a botanical mastermind. And for your efforts, he'll reveal that Citrus was the one asking for all that weird shit. The plot thickens. Don't bother talking to Screwball just yet. He's too busy to connect his fried neurons for this.
А ты что, подумал, что он может быть шпионом ZIVCAS?
Unless you talk to Toyota first, in which case he'll vouch for him and tell you he knew him in the outside world, telling you he's harmless. Talking to the auctioneer, Three Fingers, he'll tell you that it's all Burka getting friendly with one of your suspects, Yogi. There's a reason to talk to him. Don't confront anyone just yet, because Yogi does have something interesting to say. Press him with what Three Fingers told you and he'll fess up fast. He was keeping information because, as a newbie, he knows he's not well established enough for anyone to vouch for him. Now softened, keep him in the back burner. It's time to talk to Toyota.
Я понимаю, что людям ко мне надо привыкнуть, но я не шпион, и один из ветеранов Зари может за меня поручиться.
He'll let you in on his YouTuber's journey. First he wanted to talk about movies, then about game development, then he figured out that his real calling was coming to the zone, joining Rise, and spreading the word of what a badass, cool, hip, weed-smoking clan this is. Positive exposure and all of that. With his blogger abilities, he has figured out some interesting stuff. He'll tell it to you if you'd make Mahorkian agree to an interview, which is actually pretty easy if you talk to Chechil first.
Что-то еще?
Since he'll let you in on the fact that Mahorkian used to go to theater school and is pretty proud about his voice. Tell him he's got a cool voice and he'll accept that easily.
Не, ну голос у меня правда, но ничего так. Ну, то есть да, бас такой, крепкий. Хо-хо!
With Toyota happy, it's time to ask what he knows, which boils down to Yogi, quiet, meek, and scared to death of mutants. Citrus, a chatty dude, but probably a big fucking liar. But he's also the type to believe people's lies if they're convincing enough. Sadly, he doesn't know anything about Locum. Not that it matters all that much. If you talk to Locum right now, he'll tell you to fuck off. So, with no other choice, you can now ask Yogi if he knows anything interesting about him, which he does, but isn't willing to spill. Threaten him with throwing him to the mutants.
Что? Что ты сказал?
And he'll fess up once more. Locum came to threaten him after Burka died, telling him that if he told anyone about it, he'd kill him. Yogi thinks he's a social climber, but there's more to this. Telling you about a stash Locum has, go check it out. It's probably worth it. A bomb! Like the one that Freaky Dude wanted to send Bjork, along with a note which spells out his treacherous intentions with stupid levels of clarity. Don't turn him in just yet though. Talk to Citrus, tell him you know everything, tell him to fess up and confess. He'll eventually lash back, unfazed by your well-founded accusations. All it will take is a single well-placed lie. Tell him that Locum wrote his name down on the incriminating note.
Вот ведь идиот.
Как же так?
Believing you and dropping the act, he'll try to make a run for it, only to be stopped by a nearby guard who'll take him away. Going back to Chechil, it's pretty much a closed case. Burka, Locum and Citrus were spy buddies. With Burka gone, Citrus gathered materials which Locum made into a bomb. They were planning to detonate it inside the institute. With 2 suspects guilty and a suspect vouched for, that only leaves Yogi. Chechil will ask, keep an eye on him, yay or nay? If you ask me, the poor guy suffered enough throughout the whole of this ordeal, so I say leave him alone. That's the spy issue resolved, with extreme prejudice. Still, no more enemies within doesn't mean there's no more enemies without. ZIVCAS attack squads are still running circles around Rice's logistics, and Chechil can imagine why they always seem to be one step ahead of...
Возможно, раз мы не можем найти этому феномену стратегическое объяснение, имеется объяснение научное. Профессор Ворошилов, что вы здесь делаете?
This is Dr. Borilov, head of the scientific branch, and he has a theory on what gives ZIVCAS their advantage. Deploying some equipment will be necessary to test it, and you know what that means.
Ваш труд был не зря. Мы зафиксировали очень странный сигнал. Советую поскорее возвращаться в институт.
Слышишь? Ты слышишь? Ты слышишь меня? Помоги.
The fuck? Coming back from a job well done, Borilov and Chechil seem to be arguing on how Borilov seems to have a prior history with ZIVCAS, yet he remains secretive about it. They can argue later though. You have to report on your job, which you're told gave immediate results. These signal reading devices detected a very strange frequency near the institute. Mahorkian is already on his way with a squad, so catch up and see what the ZIVCAS crew are up to.
Момент удачный. Зевкасовцев собралось немало. Явно что-то нехорошее мутят там. Ударим по ним. За зарю, мужики!
A detachment is staying here, a big one at that, led by a man named Executioner.
Эй, ты чё, Зорька? Типа из самых упорных? Я слышал, вы в бой только укуренными ходите. Судя по тому, насколько ты превосходишь свой отряд, ты скурил запас всей команды.
It falls almost entirely on you, and almost not at all on Mahorkian, to clear this place and get rid of the hammer-wielding maniac.
Ты скольких моих людей поубивал, ботан институтский. Ну все, ты разозлил палача. Я отрублю твою голову, а мозги скормлю хрюшкам.
With this melee weirdo dead, you're left to check what's up with this place. It looks like a torture center if you ask me. All the more so when you find some weak, sick, disgusting looking dude in the walk-in fridge.
Прошу, не надо, не убивайте, я не с ними, я всего лишь ассистент.
Hershel, assistant to Professor Solyanikov. Yeah, the one from the Blue Sphere storyline who disappeared with no explanation. Apparently being forced to work for ZIVCAS against his will, it can be assumed Hershel's role was something similar. Back at the base, Hershel is interrogated and lets out some pretty interesting info. ZIVCAS is currently developing a suit of armor like no one's ever seen on the zone. Not just that, they're also working directly with a couple of blessed stalkers. Regardless of the Blue Sphere's fate, their capacities are amazing. Most importantly, they have an undefined yet extremely powerful mindfulness of the zone. They can read it like one would read a book, for lack of a better explanation. All the best routes, all the patrols, they somehow know all of this at all times. Which is how ZIVCAS seems to always know what Rise is up to and how to attack them where it hurts the most each time, and how they managed to be the first faction to take claim of Forge 11, the technological treasure trove at the center of the northern zone. Chechil declares it's time to move forwards to face the enemy in the front lines of the conflict, the mines. As you can assume, this was once a mining settlement, a damn old one at that. People lived here all the way back during the Great Patriotic War, which is a term Russia and some ex-Soviet bloc countries used to describe the conflict with the Nazis that lasted during 1941 to 1945. In these eastern territories, the war meant plenty of people left. It can be assumed that things got better after the end of the Second World War, but the nuclear catastrophe that created the zone seems to have smothered all hope for this place. Arriving at the outpost in the mines, Chechil lets you know right away that the situation is looking grim.
Рад твоему прибытию. В шахтах все идет кувырком. Мало нам зивкасовцев, еще и наемники хотят о себе напомнить.
Both ZIVCAS and the Mercenaries are vying for control of the area, and while Rise is no pushover, they are facing two factions with better equipment, training, and logistics. Still, it's not like ZIVCAS is friends with anyone around here, and war distant in the eastern areas, Frontier and Covenant aren't taking too kindly to these corporate soldiers. He'll also tell you about the spies you helped capture, Locum having killed himself in his cell, while Citrus spilled details about the twins, cementing their presence as a reality to contend with. The idea of an alliance with some other factions is thrown around a little, but nothing concrete just yet. For your efforts and work back home, you're given this neat little son of Chiapa, along with the task of eliminating a couple of mercenary squads. Go do your part in maintaining Rise's position in the area. Good job. Going back for your deserved praise, you'll find Chechil and Voroshilov arguing, since the agreement between scientists and Rise was that of protection, and Chechil can really protect Voroshilov when he's in an active combat zone, a fact that makes Chechil very annoyed.
Господи, профессор, да я понимаю, что вы не из трусливых, но речь тут вообще не о трусости. У нас тут бои идут. Обеспечить вашу безопасность в институте я еще могу, но тут...
While Voroshilov believes his abilities will be of most use right here, rather than back home.
Не запугивайте меня, товарищ Чацкий.
Particularly on the twins issue. Not just that, he's brought Hershel along. The man's weak and infirm, but strength and stamina aren't mandatory to be a scientist's lab assistant. In Voroshilov's effort to find the twins, he was recently contacted by a scientist acquaintance named Baramsin, who at one point worked with ZIVCAS before becoming disillusioned with them. Escaping from his employment with them, Baramsin hopes to come to Rise for protection, bringing some pretty important documents along as his entry fee. Voroshilov gives you Baramsin's supposed location, and while aware it could be some sort of setup since this was all long-distance communication, you are tasked with taking the risk and checking it out. Using your trusty signal detector, you won't find Baramsin himself, but you will find his backpack. Containing a blood-stained journal, the player character doesn't really take a look, simply sending whatever info is in there to Voroshilov using what I assume is the zone's PDA intranet. Voroshilov will tell you to go check a nearby hangar. Of course, you won't be alone. Furrycut will be there to help you.
All the single furries, all the single furries, all the single furries, all...
Сука, хватит ко мне подкрадываться! И хватит вечно пялить в мой ПДА!
Finding him in the midst of some unworthy activities, there's no time to make fun of him, since you must move fast and get whatever documents Baramsin dropped in the area. The hangar is home to a den of mutants, but nothing major. You'll have plenty of space and time to look for any important looking papers. If you're diligent about it, you'll find 5 sets of documents, which are Professor Kaladin's notes, a folder containing notes on scientific work in Forge 11, detailing operations in the area and some personal opinions, including some notes on Dr. Solyanikov, who seemingly isn't any easy to work with, accusing Baramsin of being a rat due to him spending extended periods of time with the doctor. Report on the work done. Notes from a technical group working in Forge 11 talking about some sort of energy consumption that goes beyond their expectations and how they should work on improving it. Reports of Research Group A24, 1 and 2. A report related to Forge 11 talking about them being able to work without interruptions, planning to have a working prototype of some sort to show the ZIVCAS Council in the near future. The second document points out that development of the Master of the Zone is far more expensive than anticipated, blame falling on the previously mentioned Professor Kaladin. Notes of the Lamellar Test Group. These notes detail how preliminary examinations of the prototype were deemed impressive. The Master of the Zone project is advancing with great success, and the Council will look at it very soon.
Приветствую. Наконец-то я смогла наладить этот канал связи. Меня зовут Нина. Я в опасности. Без твоей помощи мне не обойтись. Пожалуйста, помоги мне. Они не должны найти меня. Помоги.
Whoever is hacking into your comms she's starting to really get on my nerves. With no sign of Baramsin, you give the documents to Borilov. For as important as these documents are, all they do is establish the existence of some supersuit and how important it is. After a pat on the back, it's time to talk to Chechil, who let you know that, due to the precarious situation in the area, Mahorkian has been called to bring in reinforcements, remaining hopeful that Borilov and Hershel will be able to find the twins and take away the one tool that keeps Rise from advancing properly. Back with Borilov, they have some sort of lead to find the twins, some technological thingamajig which should let you work out where the twins are based on signal strength. Of course, it falls on you to not only go out and test the thingamajig, but to also calibrate it in the first place, hopping through frequencies, listening to some unrelated yet still interesting radio transmissions before you can finally find the signal that is purportedly belonging to the twins.
Нет, ну что еще? Спасибо за аппаратуру, конечно, но мы договаривались вместе эфир вести. Я тебе даже кличку крутую придумал, а ты все молчишь. Ай, ладно. Водочки налей, хотя бы.
So go out and run around a little, waving the antennae. If I wanted to do shit like this, I would have stayed in the backwater village I come from. Still, it's easy work. After running around a little, you'll get a confirmed detection of where the twins should be. You won't find the twins. Rather, you'll find a dead ZIVCASer and his PDA, which is just about the next best thing, since it's still a clue. Hershel knows what to do to unlock it, due to his time working with ZIVCAS. The PDA's info revealing that, while allied with ZIVCAS, the twins have grown increasingly more unwieldy, going AWOL with increasing frequency and acting according to their own discretion, a fact which ZIVCAS officers dislike enough to send an operative to keep an eye on them, the implication being that the twins themselves probably killed the poor guy. Still, that's no skin off your back, since there's more important shit to acknowledge right now. According to the documents, ZIVCAS is pretty close to finishing this mysterious Master of the Zone suit. Not only that, the purpose of this suit would be granting the necessary protection in order to move towards Pripyat, which was left cut off from the rest of the zone after the Great Emission. These are worrying news, since if ZIVCAS could get to Pripyat right now, they'd have free reign over one of the zone's most valuable areas. But since there's little you can do about it right now, just head back and talk to Chechil after getting some sweet money as a reward for running around.
О, пришел наконец.
Chechil, as the leader of such a well-organized faction of reputable individuals, is fuming because back home, there's still people misbehaving. News have arrived that someone stole a bunch of chemicals from the scientists, which could be used to manufacture some of that good shit. Sick of all this insubordination, he sees it fit to do a little power move to remind people who's the boss. The man responsible for the theft is known to be stationed at the Rice outpost in the mines, where we are right now. So, as the clever detective you've proven to be, it falls on you to figure out who stole it and hand them over to Chechil so he can make an example out of them. Maybe Chiller's belief that Chechil has it out for him aren't all that unfounded, since the latter wanted to check his backpack pretty much immediately after the situation started. Suspiciously enough, Chiller got borderline violent about it, sitting next to his backpack with his rifle in hand, citing that such frisks aren't to Rise of Chechil, who isn't all that certain as to whether Chiller is actually guilty or just making a big deal out of it just to be a contrarian. It's better to deal with this gently and reasonably, so go around and start working on figuring out who stole the chemicals, hopefully not making too big a deal out of it in the process.
О, здорово. Сколько лет, сколько зим. Может, ты мне наконец поможешь? На ГЭС ты меня тогда выручил. Неплохо бы, если бы еще раз прикрыл. Тут у меня что-то совсем не балдеж.
Talking to Chiller first, you'll find out that the poor guy isn't doing so hot. After being wounded back at the Hydroelectric plant, Chiller bought some good shit from Viper, the merchant, in order to keep his mood in check. Seems like it was some dodgy gear though, since now he's coming down with some fierce shaking and fever, calling it anti-chill.
Анти-балдеж.
Nothing you can offer him will be of any help, but Chiller is certain that some vitamins that Apricot, the furry dude in the Uranus suit, is holding might just be the ticket to kick whatever it is that he's coming down with. Of course, you'll be the middleman for this interaction, since Chiller seems to have a history of teasing Apricot due to his more exotic proclivities. You come to find Apricot in some corner of the outpost, immediately hiding his PDA the moment he spots you, like his dad just walked in on him watching porn.
Нет-нет, больше ты ничего не подсмотришь. Ты меня уже задрал.
Even if you didn't catch a glimpse, it's pretty obvious what he was up to. No time to make fun of him though, since you do need his help. Honesty is the best policy if you ask me. But when told that Chiller is the one who needs the vitamins, he'll refuse immediately.
Вот значит как.
Lucky for you, he can still be reasoned with, quote unquote. If you've ever met a furry, you know the main way to get their attention is to stroke their ego. Yeah, I do think your fat, diaper-wearing fursona is cool. What? The species of your fursona is totally unique? Wanna tell me the symbolism of why you chose to be a fox? Please do. Apricot is proof of this, since praising his artwork will immediately get him interested in what you have to say, calling yourself a fan of his. A little test ensues. What kind of anthropomorphic atrocity does he like to draw the most? Real Apricot fans will know that he loves to draw foxes, and I definitely didn't have to check my footage to answer this question.
Вау! Ты что, правда следил за моим творчеством?
Moved by the fact someone actually seems to appreciate his art, Apricot offers to sometimes maybe hang out together so he can show you his drawings, along with handing you the vitamins Chiller is currently fent folding while waiting for. Happy with your help, Chiller will let you check his shit without any complaints. Weird, since checking it will reveal that all of the stolen chemicals are in his bag.
Чего?
Immediately jumping out to claim innocence, which I'm inclined to believe, but then again, who stole them in the first place? And if it wasn't Chiller, why would they end up in his backpack? Of course, you can turn Chiller in at this point, but if you're down for it, you could also go snoop around some more, since this case seems to be far from over. Who could have stolen the chemicals? Maybe it could be the guy who sells supplies. Selling all those things, he could also be selling chemicals on the side. 556 pouches. I actually need some of this. Asking around, Apricot will tell you that he knows the theft took place at night. Not only that, his friend, Belyankin, was supposed to return from patrol during that time period, but his relief has failed to show up. Maybe that has something to do with this mess. Before leaving to go check, it might do you some good to chat with Yogi.
Привет! Я все хотел тебе сказать спасибо.
Since he'll thank you if you speak up for him after the spy debacle, telling you he could have been kicked off the faction had an unestablished newbie like him gotten any flack for it, and he'll be chatty with you enough to let you know that he overheard Chechil talking about how he wanted to get back at Chiller. Keep that in mind. Now, go check on Belyankin, Apricot's friend who, upon seeing you, is desperate for his replacement to get there already.
Как же я заколебался, все меня гоняют.
So much so, he abandons his post, citing being exhausted. Who was supposed to replace him though? He won't tell you, not unless you find him his heirloom watch. Fuck. You know, becoming a part of Rise, I thought we'd get to do a lot of cool shit, like painting graffiti, throwing molotovs at dudes from Rise, smoking weed and getting blazed all night and shit like that. But seems like being part of Rise is just being surrounded by people who need to have their character handled by a wrangler. Found it. Bringing it back to Belyankin, he'll tell you how grateful he is. The only gratitude you need right now though is that of him spilling the beans on who his replacement is, that is. Which he tells you is actually Chechil. A picture starts to form. Hershel is next. Apparently, Hershel was in the area during the night of the theft, and so he was witness to whoever stole the stuff. It was too dark for him to recognize the man, though if you show him a picture of any suit, he might be able to identify it. However, you need to get it right the first time, because if you fail, he'll tell you that he's too busy for this kind of shit and tell you to fuck off. Chechil's suit is a Raps AH5 Pilgrim, by the way, if that matters at all. With all of this evidence pointing at a single man, it's time to report back to Chechil, who will waste no time in making a spectacle out of it immediately. This is supposed to remind people who's in charge, after all. He'll acknowledge how Chiller's backpack had the stolen stuff in question, but he also wastes no time in dropping the hammer on top of Chechil, telling him to pack his shit and leave, for he has just been exiled from Rise.
Да пошли вы все! Думаете, можно надо мной поржать? Думаете, можно меня выгнать из зари? Я вам устрою.
Unable to face the music, Chechil will pull out his rifle and try to kill Chechil in a fit of rage. Funnily enough, the one man who jumps to Chechil's defense is Chiller. Stepping between Chechil and Chechil, he beats him to the draw, dropping him before any damage can be made. And so, Chechil breathed his last, his temperament getting the better of him, ending both his allegiance to Rise and his life in the same moment. Chechil, shaken by the sudden attempt on his life, thanks you while considering that maybe Chiller is not such a bad guy. This has been quite the ordeal, so Chechil releases you to go back to work with the scientists some more, and they have some pretty major news for you. They've figured out where the twins are. Hershel is adamant that attempting to capture them would be unwise. Their supernatural powers and extreme tendency to violence means that you must be ready to kill them on sight. With the capacity to influence stalkers' minds, you must steady your resolve and head over to the burrow they're currently hidden in. One of Borilov's assistants waiting in the area to help you get there. He'll only guide you to the designated location though. From here on out, it's all on you. Stepping into a minefield with ZIVCAS operatives, it's unclear as to whether they're here as the Twins' security detail or if they're also hot on their trail. Considering these blessed weirdos' tendencies to go AWOL and disregard orders, a wormhole anomaly will take you to them, or so it might seem. By the time you manage to break free of whatever type of mind control is placed on you, you're dropped smack dab in the middle of the Twins' lair, where a fight will ensue pretty much immediately and with no fanfare. Reasoning is impossible. All you can do is kill them and do your faction a favor.
Ты сделал это. Ты смог. Ты спас меня. Если бы ты только знал, как я тебе благодарна. Я, наконец, в безопасности. Я знала, что могу положиться на тебя. Прости, ты, возможно, злишься сейчас. Я ведь столького тебе не объяснила. Еще не научилась быть последовательной. Скоро свяжусь с тобой снова.
With the Twins dead and ZIVCAS now closer to what might be considered an equal footing, Rise can finally start making moves without them immediately turning into catastrophes. Your first order to improve the situation in the front is to head out and kill mercenary officers and weaken their chain of command. Don't get too comfortable once you're done though. Eager to force mercenaries into a more defensive attitude, you'll immediately be sent back out again once more, this time with orders to participate in the capture of any one of the many landmarks of the mines, part of a broader offensive plan to put a halt to whatever momentum mercenary operations may have at this point in time.
Эй, прием! Я тут совсем недалеко! Скорее дуй до меня!
Immediately after capturing a control point, Majorkian will get in touch with you, asking you to come see him, eager to let you in on a little night raid operation in the fire station to the west of the mines, salting the earth a little by laying some psionic landmines once the building is clear, a little gift to whatever poor soul is tasked with recovering the area. After such an heroic night of combat, killing, and tactical action, you come back to what you might consider a most unpleasant sight. A fairly important looking member of the Frontier faction by the name of Godon is not only standing in the same room as Chechil, they also seem to be engaging in a most amicable discussion.
Я понял ваши условия и вашу стратегию, но окончательный ответ вам дать не могу. Решение остается за Давыдовым. Мы свяжемся с вами, как только он его примет. Теперь же мне пора откланяться.
The words being used make it clear that they're talking about some sort of alliance, though Davidov, whoever that is, will be the one to have the final say in all of this. Chechil will let you know that, considering the neighboring threat of the mercenaries, along with ZIVCAS still being here, strong, well-equipped and overwhelming in numbers, Frontier is the closest thing to a friend they can turn to, proposing a joint operation of some sort against ZIVCAS, attacking them from the east and west together. This could very well be a fairly effective maneuver. So much so that it's about time Rise starts making moves into Forge 11. Some of the faction squads have already broken into the area to claim territory, and hostilities with ZIVCAS are in full swing. The recent death of the Twins has thrown their logistics off, so now it's time to fuck them up and keep them fucked. You're tasked with taking a device from the scientists, Hershel and Borilov, which should let you tap into the ZIVCAS communications, which you do.
Несем потери. Проклятая Заря устроила нам очередную засаду. Черт, я 3 лучших бойцов потерял. Не думал, что до этого дойдет. И Зигфрид куда-то запропастился. Отправляю обновленные маршруты патрулей. Теперь пользуемся только этими маршрутами. Смотри-ка, первый улов, а какой жирный. Мы перехватили маршруты зивкасовских патрулей. Используем их с толком.
immediately finding some pretty interesting details on ZIVCAS patrol routes, along with some news that some important ZIVCASer named Siegfried has gone missing, but that doesn't sound like anyone important right now. The next comms don't seem to have any interesting new information, rather simply some poor operator losing his shit over how fucked things are at this moment.
А-24 эвакуированы. Получили приказ собираться у центра управления. Хотим там собрать все силы. Есть неподтвержденные данные, что скоро враг пойдет на прорыв. Не знаю, как мы это дерьмо допустили. Раньше надо было козлов мочить. А теперь, без близнецов, будем воевать и говно с кровью хлебать.
And lastly, information on some stash containing a decent amount of mines, the anti-personnel type, mentioning another, probably unimportant man by the name of Brutus.
Пересылаю координаты тайника с минами. Не успеваем их забрать, оставляем в этой точке. Если группа Брута успеет, она их заберет. А если Брут со своими завязнут в боях, пусть полежат там до лучших времен. Приняли?
With information about this mine stash, you are tasked with stealing some of them for yourself and laying them throughout the area. Once you're done with that, Mahorkian declares Phase 2 to have begun. What does that mean? That means go out and start killing as many squads as you can find, 3 of them to be specific.
Эй, ты меня слышишь? Мы тут нашли одну зивкасовскую базу, которая так и напрашивается, чтобы мы ее разнесли. Присоединяйся к нам. Координаты для встречи высылаю.
ZIVCAS is now quickly losing territory to the surrounding factions. Finding one of their bases, Mahorkian invites you to come over and join in on the fun. A decent chunk of these corporate soldiers already dead by Chiller's hand once you arrive, if you've gotten along with him thus far, that is.
Не шевелись, сейчас перевяжу. Вколю пару штук с аптечки и будет балдеж.
Mahorkian is shot, but with Chiller to aid him, it's just a flesh wound. More importantly, at the end of this little operation, you come across an old acquaintance, which hopefully you haven't forgotten about.
Ты кто такой? Ты... Погоди-ка, Альцгеймер мои мозги вроде еще не захапал. Я ж тебя откуда-то знаю, верно?
To summarize, Solyanikov tells you that he was kidnapped from his burrow all the way back in the pit or the forest by ZIVCASers, and he has been forced to work with them ever since. He considers Forge 11 to be a cemetery of Soviet fantasies, but then again, he's not exactly a cheery dude. Another assessment he makes that might come as good news is that even though the Master of the Zone project eventually did prepare a finished product, the cost of manufacture is so overwhelming that the whole thing was canned. The only current functioning example of the design soon to be decommissioned and sent out to the mainland to become nothing more than an interesting piece of ZIVCAS history. But then, if the Master of the Zone was a sham, then what the fuck is the point? Why is ZIVCAS here? Solyanikov lets you know that in Forge 11, some extremely advanced computer was found. Created by members of the the Neo Mind, the group of black site scientists who worked in the Chernobyl disaster zone before it became the anomalous region known as the Zone. This AI is said to be capable of directly manipulating the noosphere, and though it isn't complete, it's anachronistically advanced, like ChatGPT, but better and made before 2010. Impressive. ZIVCAS was interested in somehow harnessing this AI, but from the way Solyanikov talks about it, there's no fucking way anyone in their whole fucking life could ever fucking hope to fucking even begin to fucking understand how it fucking works. You fucking fucker, you. The AI is independent wholly and completely, just like Solyanikov up until you offer him a place at Rice. Another scientist would be welcomed warmly. Not only that, Hershel, his old assistant, is already a part of the team.
Какого еще ассистента?
What?
Как я уже ранее говорил, Альцгеймер ко мне на чашку чая пока не стучался. Я не знаю никакого Гершеля. У меня никогда не было ассистента с такой фамилией, кличкой или как он там это позиционирует. Позер сраный. Просто обокрал великого астронома, чтоб за умного сойти.
Hershel is an imposter? Oh god, oh man. Oh god, oh man. Is he another ZIVCAS spy? Was he waiting for the perfect moment to strike? Head back to base and warn them right fucking now.
Думаю, Думаю, теперь ты что-то начинаешь понимать. Ход событий ускоряется. Наша встреча неизбежна. Я очень жду ее. Заинтригована до чертиков, если честно. А ты?
There's no time to talk with a robot woman. Go warn Borilov. Borilov is fine, sad, but alive. Hershel took a very timely exit, abandoning the Rise headquarters, not before stealing a bunch of documents linked closely to Borilov. Sick of all the mystery around the scientist, Chechil demands Borilov to fess about his past with ZIVCAS, since, up until now, any questions made were quickly deflected. With no more space for excuses, Borilov talks about his past. At one point, he worked closely with ZIVCAS, a prodigy of chemistry and pharmacology. He was recruited to make a drug similar to Rice's own drug. His time with ZIVCAS at first was spent, purportedly, developing a medicine to help people with brain injuries, assuming this to be a humanitarian project. However, the more his work advanced, the more things went sideways. What started as medicine then became a psychostimulant. Enough meetings and conversations with executives, and ZIVCAS's real intent was revealed. They wanted to create a combat drug to strengthen their private army with, the likes of which could stimulate brain cells and muscle tissue, increasing muscular growth and regeneration. It also turned out to be extremely destructive to the body, along with being addictive and inhibiting certain parts of the brain as to endorse obedience. Told that his drug was being used to rehabilitate victims of military conflicts and natural catastrophes, the straw that broke the camel's back was when Borilov found out that they were running clandestine human experiments with said drug behind his back. Experiments that would kill its test subject. Borilov had worked in the zone before, so, making his sudden exit from company employment, he immediately escaped to the restricted area, like many others, to escape legal persecution, not without taking all his research with him and destroying whatever remained in ZIVCAS's possession. This is when he approached Chechil with his proposal to reorganize Rise as a scientific faction, intent on continuing his research to create Candin, an improved, far less damaging version of the previous medicine. Of course, Chechil, if he knew, could have thought to strengthen his own men with said drug, so Borilov always kept his cards close to his chest, even as they became allies. Hershel took a dose of Candin, proving its positive benefits by using his newfound strength to escape without anyone being able to do much about it. Borilov begs that you find him, kill him, and destroy his own work, but Chechil intervenes. The joint operation with Frontier is fast approaching, and delivering ZIVCAS a crippling strike is far more important than tracking down a single man. Now all that remains is the final assault on the main building of Forge 11, and all you have to do is tell Chechil that you're ready.
Наступаем! Нужно занять первый блокпост противника!
The fated day arrives, and there's no time to waste. You'll be approaching Forge 11's central structure from one of the sides, quickly overtaking a ZIVCAS position along with members of your faction, a rain of artillery forcing you to quickly continue your journey underground. It can be assumed that there's Rise operatives working in the area nearby as well. This is just as much of a race as it is a cooperative effort, since the moment the operation is over, chances are the little alliance that was drawn up will quickly dissolve.
Враг наступает! Держитесь! Захват центра управления — это... Секунду! Сейчас расчистим путь! Необходимо взять под контроль первый этаж. Будьте осторожны. ZIVCASовцы будут драться до последнего.
Reaching what I can only call as the command center of the Forge, the path is now clear, and seemingly everyone is too busy with their own tasks to accompany you as you take an elevator into this heart of darkness. Being greeted by a particle acceleration facility upon arrival, along with the AI woman's voice welcoming you.
Это консоль управления.
Скорее, активируй ее.
The path is just behind this blast door, so you must press this button to undo the security lockdown.
Я знал, что в итоге первым сюда доберешься ты. Ты хороший парень, воюешь за правое дело. Жаль, что навряд ли нам удастся разминуться без крови, да? Самое обыкновенное восстановление справедливости. Надеюсь, профессор Ворошилов исповедался вам с Чацким? Ну, о том чудо-препарате, что он делал для ZIVCAS. Отлично, считай, сэкономил нам время. Он ведь упоминал тот самый поворотный момент, после которого решил порвать с ZIVCAS. Информаторы слегка подвели Ворошилова. Хотя, если сравнивать с моей жизнью до испытаний на мне препарата, да, я определенно почувствовал себя мертвым. Полумертвым это как минимум. Да, в мое поломанное существование в одинаковой степени вложились и Ворошилов, и ZIVCAS. Это было на этапе формирования зевкасовского спецназа. Я был в числе бойцов с особо темным прошлым. Препарат предназначался для нас. В меня просто ткнули пальцем. Вариантов ответа не было, я мог лишь молча кивнуть. Я думал об этом, но потом понял, что месть подразумевает что-то личное. ZIVCASу было по большому счету все равно, кого брать в подопытные. Ворошилов не знал обо мне и моей судьбе ничего, работая над своим препаратом. Если всем все равно, кому мстить и за что? Я просто хотел вернуть самого себя. Я украл его заметки. Попробую сам воспроизвести препарат для дальнейшего использования. А может и формулу улучшу, адаптирую под свои потребности. Ну, даже с препаратом Ворошилова я уязвим. С хозяином зоны ситуация значительно лучше. К тому же, я считаю его премией, которую ZIVCAS мне не выплатил за мою работу. Говорю же, никакой мести, только восстановление справедливости. После того, как препарат искалечил меня, мне не пустили пулю в лоб, потому лишь, что врачи ZIVCAS хотели узнать, как скоро я загнусь сам. Но я отличился жизнелюбием. Потом ZIVCAS начал всеми силами пытаться убить Ворошилова. Хотели отомстить ему. После ряда провалов я вызвался добровольцем. Дальше я навел справки. О Заре, о Чацком и о тебе. Интересный ты парень, и судьба не из простых. Шаман, голубой шар. Я и про знакомство с Соляниковым узнал. Когда мы столкнулись, я понял, что лучше представиться ассистентом Соляникова. Это должно было тебя заинтриговать, а будучи заинтригован, ты бы не шлепал меня на месте. Я собираюсь уйти отсюда, по пути, очевидно, убив всех, кто попытается меня задержать. Думаю, снаружи меня уже ждет Чацкий со всей своей кавалерией. Что ж, я был первым испытателем препарата Ворошилова. Теперь я первый испытатель хозяина зоны. Кажется, я обнаружил свое призвание. Я знаю. И ты ведь будешь первым, кто встанет у меня на пути, да? Жалко это. С тобой было приятно работать, но я уже совсем определился. Перед смертью думай о том, что в этом нет ничего личного. Просто так сложились обстоятельства. Карты так легли. Я именно этой мыслью всегда себя и утешал. К бою.
Hershel was in the area. His sick and weakly stare now gone due to his usage of Candin. Not just that, he's wearing the legendary suit you'd only heard about up until now, the Master of the Zone, boasting statistics such as 10,000 protection to all forms of anomalous damage, 1,700 to laceration damage, and 850 to bullet damage. Weighing in at an astounding half-ton, you might as well start shooting at the floor and say you're trying to kill planet Earth for all the effect it would have. But that's not all. In his hands, you'll find the legendary Object 47, a ZIVCAS original, inspired by research found on the Forge. A completely recoilless ghost rifle. It doesn't shoot fast or particularly hard, but the fact that it shoots straight through plates and the wielder is damn near immortal means that Hershel has just become a walking tank, and your chances are pretty much null. Nina suddenly speaks up, driving your chances from null to slim. She'll give you the necessary instructions to destroy Hershel and his exosuit. Your final confrontation ensues. Since this is a particle acceleration facility, there's plenty of electronics to fuck up with the suit's systems. Not only that, you'll be given a plentiful supply of flashbang grenades. Useful, since for all the funding ZIVCAS dumped into this thing, they forgot to put protection against loud noises and bright After powering the whole thing, destroying the magnetic panels will give you your first chance to strike, disabling the futuristic shield that protects Hershel. Of course, even while unpowered, the suit is solid, so look for a weak spot where your bullets might actually do anything.
Мой щит! Зараза!
After that, the nearby coolant pipes will put another stop to the systems in the armor, stopping Hershel in his tracks and giving you another chance to hurt him. Next, you'll have to reactivate the electronics around the center of the room, leading Hershel beneath one of the transformers and shooting it as he passes under it, disabling him once more. By this point, you might be noticing you're giving this piece of armor a real stress test. Its plates peeling away the more damage you put on it, weakening it. Either because of the reduced weight or sheer desperation, Hershel will start attacking faster, harder, and more unfairly. Lastly, you must give him the good old Anatoly Bugorsky. Activate the particle accelerator right as he's passing through it to disable his systems one last time. Entirely unprotected, this will spell Hershel's end.
Завершен. Иди ко мне.
Easier said than done, but you're a smart cookie, you'll figure it out. Even after all of that, however, this whole ordeal isn't entirely over, since that mysterious voice in your comms will speak up once more, inviting you to come closer, closer to the Forge's heart, to meet whoever it is that's been watching your every move.
Заря одержала победу над силами спецназа НИИ ZIVCAS. Зоркие смогли добиться главного. Вырвали из рук ZIVCAS монополию на научные чудеса Кузни-11. Главными триумфаторами стали ученые и исследователи, симпатизирующие Заре. Хозяин зоны. Удивительный бронекостюм, созданный НИИ ZIVCAS на основе наработок, найденных в Кузне-11, оказался уничтожен. Вместе с бронекостюмом погибли и надежды на то, что его можно будет использовать для путешествия в Припять через заслоны аномалий. Пока никто не знает, удастся ли с толком использовать то немногое, что осталось от хозяина зоны. Как никто не знает и о таинственной Нине и ее планах, как далеко продвинется ее обучение и к чему приведет ее взаимодействие с ноосферой. Обернется ли ее работа для обитателей зоны добром или худом? Этими вопросами ты задаешься, вглядываясь.
You're finally given the chance to head back home. Chechil will let you know that after your victory over ZIVCAS, they remained on the zone, but they lost their most expensive project. Finding Professor Borislov's notes on Kandin in Hershel's corpse, the professor destroyed them immediately, disillusioned with his research as a whole. He also abandoned Rice, vowing to keep fighting ZIVCAS, though it's not clear how exactly he'll do that. Dr. Solyanikov now taking his place as head of the scientific branch of Rice. The alliance with Frontier is now dissolved. Frontier is sore about the fact that the first faction to get to the Master of the Zone and its scrap pieces was Rice. The faction wars are back in their usual status quo. You can try to talk about Nina to Chechil, but he'll tell you that he'd rather let that little piece of knowledge fester in your head and leave you, and only you, to worry about it. He's got enough in his plate, it would seem. At the end of your conversation, he will give you a clan voucher, with which you can requisition whatever piece of veteran gear you want in the clan's armory. That can wait though. This has been a damn long fucking ordeal, and things seem to have ended on a pretty uplifting note. And after all of that, maybe a little rest is in order, isn't it?
Взгляд застыл на монументе в черный день.